The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Six minutes after 12, Faster Mike, good afternoon. We're live on Mannin Line today with David Cretney, now a Douglas City Councillor and one of the most experienced Tynwald politicians of the 20th century. In Keys between 1985 and 2015, then in Ledgco from 2015 to 2020, he held ministerial portfolios, sat on committees, and it's fair to say that Douglas South really was Cretneyville for a long time. And he's on Mannin Line today. So get in touch by calling 66 13 68, text, email and WhatsApp as well. Faster Mike, good afternoon, David Cretney.
Good afternoon, Faster Mike.
Well, that's a very impressive portfolio of positions that you had in Tynwald. The question everybody's asking is, why back as a Douglas councillor?
Well, you have described a portfolio of positions. The most important thing is being there to represent people. And that's the bit I've most missed since I've not been a member of Tynwald. The face-to-face stuff, the trying to help people with issues that may be major for them, but you can perhaps help resolve. And I've been involved in since April the 24th, trying to do quite a few of those. I think once somebody is elected, then straight away people contact them, and I'm very happy about that. I've had a number of home visits to see people and try and help them with things. I've witnessed a number of documents for people, so I'm very happy to be doing that. It was suggested I was mad going back into politics, even at a local level. Will I still have time to walk my dogs? Yes, I will. The work in the town council, the city council now, is far less than that which I managed for 30 odd years in the House of Keys with the support of the people. And so it's about the people, really. That's why I'm there.
Well, you make it sound very simple. You make it sound like it's keeping in touch with people. It's fair to say, I mentioned that Douglas South was Cretneyville, as well as Dugganville. You and Mr. Duggan held sway there for a long time. It really wasn't worth anybody else showing up for a long time in Douglas South. And is it really down to dealing with people all the time?
I think that's very important, and it sometimes becomes something of a balance when you do become a minister. And I was the role which probably best suited me was Minister of Fun between 1996 and 2006, but then trying to balance that alongside your constituency work and your Tynwald work can be something of a challenge, but I'm always managed it. People were patient if I didn't get back to them straight away, and they understood that I was busy, but they knew that I would always get back to them. Okay,
so why Douglas City Council? What needs to be done that David Cretney thinks he can do?
Well, as you said at the start, I was a councillor from 1983 for St George's Ward until the by-election in April 1985. Ironically, it was April the 25th, 1985, and I just got elected to the City Council on April the 24th, 2025, 40 years before, to the day that I became a member of the House of Keys. So I think I've got something to contribute. I think what you require in all institutions is a balance of people with experience and people with new ideas and working together for the good of the now city. And it's the place I was born, it's the place I love, and I hope I can play my part. Obviously, trying to make sure the ratepayers get best value for money, but also trying to ensure that there are facilities for young people, housing. All the time I was a member of the House of Keys, housing was the top issue. It was the top issue at the last general election in the House of Keys, and I'll be doing my bit to try and make sure we have affordable housing for people in our city.
Okay, so what needs to be done for affordable housing in Douglas?
Well, we need to work with the government, and I think, as Tony Brown said when he was on here talking, it's easier perhaps when you've been in that institution to be able to make the links, to be able to talk to people perhaps some of whom were former colleagues, and try and encourage them to work together to get things done. Tony Brown was very good to me. In Pulrose, the corporation had no policy in relation to refurbishment of low Pulrose. It had been refurbished once. It didn't work. I organised a number of meetings with residents, a number of whom are no longer with us, sadly. Really nice, real good Pulrose people. And Tony Brown went to the Treasury Minister, and we got the money, and we got Lower Pulrose done, and that's my greatest achievement.
Okay. So does Douglas need more or better social housing?
It needs a combination of both. There's been work ongoing, obviously, in relation. The Williston flats will be occupied and opened before the end of the year. The scheme on Peel Road of apartments, that's really welcomed. Obviously, I used to represent Lord Street in the House of Keys, and that's now vacant. There's an offer in for it. I don't know the detail because I've not been at a meeting yet, but I continue. There's a number of brownfield sites around Douglas. Long overdue work. Let's hope we can work in cooperation. And if you look at it from a financial point of view, doing housing is a financially good thing to do for the government.
Okay. Several times we've heard this talking about local authorities talking to central government, and the layperson may think, well, he just pick the phone up and chat and things get resolved. It obviously isn't that simple.
You can do that, obviously, but I mean, there are formal channels which have to be followed as well, and obviously there are people with responsibilities within central government for housing. David Ashford is central now, and there are others. And so it's important that the relationship is built in order to get things done. It's no good talking about things forever, which there's been far too much of. Let's get some things done.
Okay. How do you get on with the leader, Devon Watson?
Devon and I are both members of the Manx Labour Party. We differ from time to time on things, but and as you know, my name was put forward at the same time as Devon's. I didn't object to my name going forward because I think the fact, and I knew that Devon was going to be successful in that election, I think that endorses his candidature, that he's been properly elected rather than just assuming the role.
Okay. So you mentioned there's got to be a role, if you like, for an alternative view, a different view, and also people who've got experience. Do you see you and Devon as that, really? Mr. Watson with the alternative views and you as the voice of experience?
Possibly. We agree on most things, and we come from the same party, and it was probably a compliment to the Manx Labour Party that the two candidates who were nominated for leader of the council came from the same party. I think, in terms of housing in particular, we share very much the same views that work needs to be carried on and make sure that people have affordable housing. And if you look at government central policy, where they're talking about bringing new people to the Isle of Man or encouraging our own people to come back to the Isle of Man, housing is central to that. If you don't get affordable accommodation, then you're not going to get the skills you require. It needs to be targeted.
Okay, let's get to the phones now, and Adam's first with us. Hi, Adam, you're live with David Cretney.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Mr. Cretney. You all right?
Yes, hi.
Good. I'm just ringing up. I've got two questions for you. The first one is, how do you balance the need to invest in the town's housing stock with the need to invest in the town's built environment and the beautification of the town?
Like what? When you say beautification, what do you mean, Adam?
I mean, for example, the construction of new gardens, the construction of more areas of green, for example, and the improvement of which I've talked about before on the Mannin Line, the improvement of the built environment through green solutions and landscaping solutions.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you for that, Adam. In my manifesto, I mentioned specifically green areas and the parks. I think we're very fortunate that those who went before us, if in Hutchinson Square, Derby Square and other areas like that, had the foresight to put in place green areas and around it the housing. It makes those who live in the houses much more fortunate. It's a good thing, and so I would want to see that encouraged.
And how do you balance that with the need for the towns to improve the town's housing stock? Obviously, you've only got so much budget. How would you balance the two?
Well, it's easy, really. In terms of where new accommodations should be getting built, there are a number of brownfield sites which have been vacant for years, and work needs to be done in order to get them done. And the finances will have to be found for that. In terms of balancing it with maintaining the green areas, I don't see that as a problem whatsoever.
No, right, okay. And my second question to you is, what is your vision for Douglas?
God, we've only got an hour.
How long have you got? Yeah.
I want to see a city that people are proud of. I want to see a city where people aren't constantly unhappy about things going on. I want to see a city which communicates directly with those which it represents. I think, like government, sometimes the communication can be lacking. I want the leader to be able to come to Manx Radio or to or other stations and to be able to put forward the policies so that people understand where the corporation, what they're trying to do. That hasn't always been the case. I just want, at the time, when I finish my tenure in 4 years' time, I just want people to be happier in Douglas than sometimes seems to be the case at present.
Adam?
Right, that's good then. You've got a positive vision, that's great.
Okay,
those are my questions. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Good to hear from you. I want to go to Howard, who's with us now. Hi, Howard, you're live with David Cretney.
Hello, Andy. Hi, David. How are you doing?
Hello, Howard. I'm good, fine, thank you.
Yeah. What day are you doing the lap round the course?
I don't think I'm doing any this year.
Yeah. Just a question that several years ago, the council suggested and started a position within certain aspects of the council meetings, particularly housing, and it was for an independent member of the public on the tenant side, whether it be Williston, Pulrose, Annika, within the housing operated by Douglas Council. And this would give a genuine person in, not just a complainer, genuine person who could put ideas forward. They wouldn't have a vote on the outcome of what was in the committee, but they were able to put forward ideas for the future and for the present at the time. But for one reason or another, which I can't go into on the air, it was dropped. And this has gone back about 3, maybe 4 years ago. And I know I was down there and I got on the short list. I was pushed until I eventually put my name down. And I got on the short list. I've got no grievance on this side. But is there any chance of that particular position being set up again?
Well, from my perspective, it's very important to have input from the people who actually live in the houses. You might remember 40 years ago, I set up tenants associations in Annika, in Pulrose and Spring Valley, in order for people to have a voice across the table to the council. So if that situation is as you describe, you did say this to me when I was calling at your house, it's something that I would like to see reinstituted. I think it's very important. And as you say, they wouldn't have a vote anyway, but they would be able to have input on behalf of the tenants. And I think that there's no reason why that shouldn't happen.
No, it just gives that little bit of strength to the tenants of the houses, shall we say, and it allows them to think that something could be done and not swept under the carpet. That's the only thing. It gives that confidence.
Yeah, Well, you've got my assurance that that's something that I'll put forward. I am on the Housing Committee. I wanted to be on the Housing Committee. As I say, housing has always been top of my agenda, and I certainly endorse the fact that we should have somebody across the table representing directly the tenants' interests, and I'm sure the chair of the Housing would agree with that.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, David.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your help
Good to
on
hear
that.
from him. Right,
Bye.
21 minutes past 12, and Patrick's with us now. Hi, Patrick. You're live with David Cretney.
Hello there. David, it's Paddy Delaney.
Yes.
David, it's a horrible subject, I know, but Summerland, for example, why has it been left so long lying? Families looking at the site, and why has nothing been built on there? Something in memory of the families who lost loved ones. To me, it's a disgrace. The government and the Douglas Corporation haven't got together and built something there, a roller skating ring, anything in memory of the people who died. It's a disgrace.
Okay, well, you're right. It has been vacant, and it's not a pleasant sight to look at. Unfortunately, the previous Summerland building had to be demolished because of concrete issues, and I was the minister at the time. I regret that there's been no development on the site, whilst respecting those who lost their lives in the tragedy. Any of us who were on the island in August 1973 will remember graphically. I lived in Finch Road. I was able to see the smoke coming from the site, and we all need to remember all those who did their very best to help with the situation. But yes, I would like to see something happen on the site, and if that requires a cooperation between the local authority, who were the owners of the site at the time, and the government, then that's something I would certainly support.
Okay.
Can you push it, David? Can you try and push it a bit harder and find some reason, if there's any reason why it's not been built on? Can you find out what it is?
Okay, there's been a couple of suggestions about what might happen on the site. I don't know how proactive it's being marketed. There's a sign at the perimeter of the site, but just to make sure that people know that if anything that does go on the site, I would certainly support there being recognition of the tragedy incorporated as part of that.
Okay, all right.
David, instead of trying to sell the site, why don't they build something themselves? Government should build something themselves. Never mind trying to sell it.
I think it's a question of priorities, really, and the priorities. We all know what the financial situation is. When I was first elected in 1985, there were 3,500 people out of work, virtually no reserves. We're in difficult times again at the moment financially, and so I think that's why government isn't developing the site themselves.
Okay, all right. Thanks for calling today. Good to hear from you. 23 minutes past 12. A note in this is from Ian. Just said that when you were, I think, Minister of Fun, or new listeners started Minister of Tourism, you were the fun embodied. The NSC and everything, and the bowl and everything were developed as well. You must be, and Ian's just saying that was a fantastic foresight to bring the NSC and the bowl up to spec. So, I mean, that was done with, there wasn't much money around then. So where was the foresight for bringing the NSC and the bowl to where they are now?
Well, I was fortunate to see the scheme through, but there were others involved. Tony Brown, Alan Bell in particular, both of them were ministers prior to me, right. and I was a member of the department at that time, but fortunately I was able to see the scheme through with my late colleague Eddie Lowry, who was the chair of the leisure division of the department, and I'm very, very proud of the award-winning facilities we have at the National Sports Centre.
He called everybody sport, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Everybody. It's very appropriate.
Take a pound out the till and have the rest of the day off, son, was his other one.
So putting that whole... I remember when the Island Games came over, it was 2000, the people from Jersey's jaws dropped when they saw the NSC.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was also fortunate to be in a position to see the refurbishment of the Villa Marina through. Again, it's hard to believe, but that was 2004. And, the late Ian...
Brown.
Ian Brown, thank you.
Brown,
I'm so sorry. The late Ian Brown, his foresight in terms of the future, combining the old parts of the Villa Marina and with the new parts, and retaining the Royal Hall, in which we've seen so many great concerts since. I think it's great that we've been able to save that. At one time, the corporation wanted to knock that down, and I think we made the right decision. Unfortunately, I had to go to Tynwald and get compulsory purchase powers from the local authority. It was the right thing to do. It's a national asset.
Okay, and a message in now. This is Martin, who just says, just regarding, we're back to housing again now, and just says, what sort of hope can the government or the council give to young couples who are trapped in private rental at the moment and see no way out, David?
And again, that has been the case for a long, long time. I used to go round to private sector flats, and not all landlords are bad, but some landlords were less than helpful, and see the conditions in which people had to live. And so that's what has motivated me for a long time to try and make sure, and now I'm back in a position to try and do something to influence that, to get some hope for young people. Buying your first house is always a big issue, and if you can't afford your own house, getting into local authority accommodation is always a big issue. But we need to make more progress. The talking needs to stop.
Okay, smartening up Douglas. So this is Clive, who just said, so what are Douglas City Council's exact responsibilities for smartening the place up? Street sweeping, pavement sweeping, that's all, yeah?
Street sweeping, litter, dog muck, all those kind of things are a direct responsibility of the corporation. Since I've been elected, I've had at least 2 people contact me, and I've directed their concerns on to the officials in the town hall in relation to places which are an absolute mess. And you know, they can't be everywhere all the time, but once these areas are highlighted to them, then officers should make sure that the work is put right.
Okay, Karen said, I miss moochers.
I don't.
Well, you had two businesses on Strand Street, Castle Street. So you were on the street for a long time, looking, selling and what have you. So, what's your view of the way Strand Street is at the moment? Well,
just back a step. I started off. I lost my job in the post office. I was sacked from the post office for various personal reasons. And Viv Hooper and her late husband Mike, took me on in Wellington Street, where the original Moochers was. They also gave me the opportunity to be a DJ next door in All Sorts Disco, which was the only purpose-built under-18s disco on the island. I then, when they split up, I then eventually moved on to Strand Street, 59 and 74 Strand Street. Big rents, but we managed to make a living, and we had some great staff who looked after the shops for me, because I was obviously full time as an MHK then. What I see at the moment is there's so much coming online that I don't remember a more difficult time for people in the retail and leisure industries. What I put in the manifesto was we need to, and again I've seen this elsewhere, we need to do whatever we can to put on events to increase footfall for the town. Again, when I was Minister for Fun, we used to have stuff going on the Promenade TT Week. At the moment, it's all going on. There's bushies in the Villa Marina grounds, and there's this new event at the Bottleneck, so I really wish them the best of luck, and it's good for them to get together. But we need to do more things like that to encourage people to spend time in Douglas and spend time in the shops and spend time in the pub spending money, because that's our job.
Okay, we're live with David Cretney, Douglas City Councillor, between now and 1. I've got lots of questions to get to in just a few moments' time. And if you want to call 66 13 68 or text or WhatsApp 166 177.
Concerned about your hearing? Get the support and help that you need with an expert hearing assessment free of charge at Island Hearing in Port Erin or Ramsey, with microsuction wax removal available in our Port Erin clinic. Island Hearing have been your local hearing care specialists for over 15 years. So for friendly, professional help and advice, just call 830 722 or visit Island Hearing at 1 Station Road, Port Erin. Island Hearing, always listening.
Hi Liz, I see you've had your garage converted. We're desperate for more room.
Yes, come through and have a look. John called Manx Property Conversions. We now have an extra bedroom, but it could be another reception room, kids' playroom or office. They also did our conservatory roof last year. We were so impressed, we got them back to convert the garage.
Wow, I need that. What's their number again?
Call MPC on 450 500. That's 450 500. Or find them on Facebook at Manx Property Conversions.
There's monkeys and meerkats, penguins galore. You can meet with a panda, owls, lemurs and more.
The Carax Wildlife Park is open 7 days a week. So book your tickets and experiences online now at caraxwildlifepark.im.
Did you hear?
Hear what?
Skipton International has a fixed rate bond at 4.4%.
Oh, really? That's a strong return. How does it work?
Skipton International's based in Guernsey, and with £100,000 or more deposit, you can lock in that great rate, fixed until 31st of March 2026.
Sounds like a smart move. I'll check it out.
For details on all of Skipton's savings products, call 01481 730 730 or visit skiptoninternational.com today. Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the GFSC and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. See dcs.gg.
The latest edition of Manx Radio's Breath Mindfulness podcast with Karen Hardman is available now.
You never need to worry about being fed up, not stimulated or instantly happy. That's okay to feel like that.
The Breath podcast, Spectacular Decision Making with Karen, is available now at manxradio.com.
Your body will let you know what you need to do.
Brought to you by the Good Health Store on Station Road in Port Erin.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And David Cretney, Douglas City Councillor, is with us. Mark, you're live with David Cretney. Hi, Mark.
All right, Andy. How you doing, fella?
Good, thanks.
David, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. I heard you the other day.
You did hear me, did you?
I did, yes.
Have you any comments about that, about the natural light and what have you?
Yeah, the point you made about somebody saying that you had no right to light, I think that is contrary to what the planning law is. You have a right to light, but you don't have a right to a view. Now, in the instance of the tree in the back of your garden, then that should be properly managed. And if they're not managing it properly, and that doesn't mean cutting it down or anything. That means, as you said, managing it properly. Then that's what should happen. So I don't know why that isn't the case. And perhaps I should come and see you sometime, and you can show me.
Okay, just new listeners start here. This is Mark in a Douglas house that's got a sycamore tree that's grown and grown and growing and taking the light up, and the council said you can't touch it. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. David, you're more than welcome to come up any time you like, fella. We'll put the coffee on and I'll make sure we've got some very, very expensive chocolate biscuits, because I know you've got a bit of a soft spot for them.
I have, but I'm not allowed chocolate biscuits because I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I have to be a good boy.
Oh, well, I'll eat them then.
I'll
eat them and I'll make you watch me. Oh, well, listen, just one more thing before I go, David. Last year at the grandstand, where they have, the cars parked to go and have a look round and what have you, last year, where the disabled bay was, it was changed to the VIP section. And when I asked the girl what were the VIPs, she said it was Douglas Corporation councillors and MHKs. Were you aware of that was the case, that you are now a very important person?
No, I'm not a very important person. The people are the important people. I'm just there to do their job. In terms of I understand that in terms of parking for persons with a disability, that's going to be a better situation this year. I spoke to somebody close to that, the TT organisation, and I understand that that's going to be a better. Most of us have legs. For those who are able to access things easily, for those who don't, we should make sure we have sufficient provision.
Okay.
Great. I will send you an email, David, and we'll arrange for you to pop up and have a cup of tea or
Please
a cup
do.
of
I'd
coffee
love to do that. Love to do that.
Without sugar. Mate.
Without sugar, I'm afraid, yeah.
All right, thanks for that. How long were you a TT Marshal?
At Bluffbridge for 16 years. Prior to that, I was at Rencullen at the same time as I was minister. So sometimes when you're minister, you're required to be at the grandstand. I didn't like that. I always liked to be out in the course. So Rencullen probably 10 years, so about 26 years altogether. I really liked Bluffbridge, had lots of good time there, made lots of friends there, and also in terms of, the Ministry of Fun, people still contact me from across the world and address me as such, even though I've not been that since 2006.
Well, they stick, don't they, labels? 600 volunteers are needed for every session.
Absolutely.
600, and I think most people don't know that. Most people think they just happen, and there may be a few volunteers. 600. How is that coordinated?
Well, they do a great job, and the organisation of the TT Marshals and the travelling Marshals, both great organisations. Those of us who've had the opportunity to race on the TT course, I mean, last time I did that on the Manx was 1998. We are able to chase our dreams and enjoy ourselves and have the best time ever on the best course ever. It wouldn't happen if we didn't have the marshals to ensure effective and as safe as possible racing around the course.
Why do people come from all around the world, often to stand in the pouring rain up on the mountain sometimes, for an entire day? Why do they do it, David?
Because there's nothing else like it in the world. In a world where we're very often cotton-wooled, it's nice to have freedom, and those people who play their part in terms of being marshals make sure that happens.
I've got to ask you about competing in the Manx. What was your average speed?
The quickest was just over 100 miles an hour, which so I then altered myself to the 100 mile an hour Ministry of Fun and used to sign stuff like that.
So what did you? Can you remember what was your thought when you set off, or when you hit the top of Bray Hill? Can you remember it?
Yeah. Well, you're very apprehensive before you start off. If you're not,
that's putting it mildly.
You're a robot. But then once you're down Bray Hill and away, it's great. But I was never going to be a Manx Grand Prix winner, but I did finish the course on a number of occasions. It was an important part of my life. I really loved it. I fell off twice, once at Ginger Hall when I was trying to be too ambitious going past somebody, and once at Governor's Bridge when I'd had a slow start and was trying to catch up. So thank you to those who picked me up on those occasions.
Okay. Right. We're with David Cretney now, 100 mile an hour Minister of Fun, now Douglas City Councillor. On a serious note, this is a question in from Alan. Douglas Promenade, are you proud of it as the way that it is?
In terms of the work that the government has done?
Both the overall appearance and the wall as well.
Yeah. Well, in my time, when I was Minister for Infrastructure, it was suggested to me that the wall should be put in place. I resisted that. It's now done. I don't like the fact that we don't have the same lighting along Douglas Promenade that we once had. I think that was more attractive than the modern lighting. But again, it's done. Decisions have been made. The corporation were responsible for the lighting. It's been done, and that's the way it is. In terms of the work, it was ready to go when I left the Department of Infrastructure. Several ministers afterwards, for one reason or another, had to alter things about the scheme, which led to delays and additional work being undertaken and additional expense. And so I'd like to see the job which we were supposed to be doing, which was in particular bringing the horse trams for the full length of the promenade. I would like to see that completed. I don't know whether that's going to happen this side of the election now.
Okay, and the public would want to know, why haven't the horse trams been sent the full length?
Well, I wasn't involved, but I think it's simply that the resources were allocated elsewhere, even though they had been specifically allocated for that part of the scheme. And you'd have to ask those who were in positions of power at that time.
OK, David Cretney is on Mannin Line today, and you can call 66 13 68, text, email and WhatsApp as well. Next Thursday, the Manx Labour Party's Devon Watson, leader of Douglas City Council, is on.
I began to struggle with the stairs, but I didn't want to leave our family home. So my daughter told me about Acorn Stair Lifts and their new showroom in Douglas. I was able to try the stair lifts and find the right one for me and the home I love. They were so friendly. The whole process was hassle-free and they offered the whole package from installation to servicing. Choose the island's first choice for stair lifts. Acorn Stair Lifts, South Quay, Douglas.
Call Acorn Stair Lifts now on 672 414 or call into our Douglas showroom.
This old house needed new windows. This old house needed a new door. And with DPM Conservatories, we got all that and more. Now our bills are lower and the house is warmer too. We're cleaner and we're greener since we swapped our old for new. Stunning A+ rated replacement windows and doors, expertly fitted by DPM Conservatories. Phone 612 333 or find them on Facebook and swap your old for new.
Looking for a dementia care home? Summer Hillview is a brand new purpose-built care home providing fabulous accommodation and excellent EMI nursing care with bespoke care plans and registered nurses on hand delivering round-the-clock care alongside a fully trained care team. There's a daily activity schedule for a full and active life, and the care home is fully accessible to loved ones, friends and family. For information, call 777 077. Summer Hillview, putting you at the centre of your care.
TT 2025 is almost here and Manx Radio Motorsport will be on the air to bring you every moment of the action.
Davey Todd, you are a senior TT winner.
Mate, that's something special right there, isn't it?
Practice and race commentary, interviews with all the top riders along with the latest weather and travel updates. We'll also bring you the pre-TT practice and race sessions at the Balan Circuit.
Listen at motorsport.manxradio.com, our smartphone app, DAB and AM 1368.
It all starts this evening at 5 o'clock with our pre-TT coverage getting underway from 6.
Manx Radio Motorsport, the best biking station in the world. Brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And David Cretney, 17 minutes before 1. And Anne dropped me a note on 235, said, David, can you stop people cycling on Strand Street?
Yes, I heard that discussed yesterday on the station. And I'm not sure about the bylaws. If a bylaw is supposed to be in place to prevent that, then it should be enforced.
OK. And cycling on pavements?
Well, in areas where there are, we put in the cycle paths on the Peel Road when the Peel Road scheme was underway, and I think that was helpful. They shouldn't be cycling on paths, but if it's in a dangerous location, and in particular if it's youngsters, then I think we need to kind of ensure we both keep safe.
OK, and the other message that came through was from Margaret in Ramsey. Just said, you're talking about going to Douglas to support business. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to get into Douglas? Because lots of roads are closed to temporary traffic lights. Sometimes it takes ages to get from Ramsey to Douglas. Margaret, that was.
Right. Well, obviously work has to go on, Margaret, but I'm sorry that's the case. Me getting here to Manx Radio this morning, I had to, there's traffic lights at Annika and there's work going on just down the road on the Newcastle Down Road, and I had to go another way to get to Manx Radio.
Is that still going on?
It's still going on.
That collapsed culvert?
Yes, and I just hope it's finished before the bulk of the traffic comes in.
Well, it's supposed to be finished the end of today, so we keep our fingers crossed. Right, Juan, you're live with David Cretney.
Hi Andy, David, how are you?
I'm all right, Juan, how are you?
I'm very good. Some names from the past there with Mike Cooper and Jerry Hill in the OK Bazaar days. That goes back a long time.
Absolutely.
Now, doesn't it? Just a couple of points I wanted to bring up with you. I was doing a little podcast the other day down in the Sunken Gardens, and I was quite surprised that there's been no planting going on down there. It's very dull, just the soil beds, and normally this time of year you've got it all, an array of planting down there. So I was quite surprised that, with the amount of tourism that we've got over here at the moment, with the boats coming in and the cruise ships, that it was quite bland. But I don't know whether, obviously you do listen to the show quite a bit, but comments I was getting from people this week on how clean Douglas is and the island, etc., when people are going about compared to other places they've been. But, and it's a big but, more buts than an Indian phone book, but the back streets, the back lanes of Douglas. Now, what's your take on the bi-weekly bin collections? Because that seems to be causing an issue in the back streets of Douglas. What's your take on that?
Yes, in terms of the 2 weekly bin collection, it was never going to work successfully in areas such as Bucks Road, Christian Road, Mona Street, those kind of areas where there's lots of flats, lots of narrow streets, and so obviously they need to make sure that they accommodate those people as well as they can. Generally, when I mentioned in my election that manifesto that I was happy to have a review of the situation regarding the bin collections, most people, other than those in large houses and other than those who'd witnessed an increase of rodents, most people seem to be fairly content. But yes, I still would be happy. We need to review things on an ongoing basis, and if there are continuing problems, do whatever we can to address those.
So here's the issue I've got here, David. I mean, and this has come from people who are living in the area. I mean, I'm talking like Osborne, Kingswood Grove, all them high-density areas now. In the last weeks or months, the binmen have, if the lid of the bin is up or not level, the binmen have been throwing out the access onto the floor in the lanes and taking the bins. Now, obviously, this is causing the seagulls go straight down there, and it's causing, as you just said there, the rodent problem. Then environmental health have got to come round, and more money is spent from more departments sorting this out. So it's an ongoing problem. I mean, if the refuge people are doing this and just throwing them onto the lane, and then your inspectors are coming round and then going to the households and telling them about it. So there's an ongoing issue there, and I was going to bring this up with Devon, but I thought you're on there now, and you've got a little bit of clout. Maybe you can have a look at that issue, because the cleanliness and the environmental health around the back lanes is an issue.
Yeah, the areas you describe are actually part of Devon's constituency, but I'd be very surprised if binmen are doing what throwing stuff out of bins. I'd be very disappointed. I'll obviously raise that, but I would hate to think that that's happening, and I'm not sure that it is.
Well, and I'm just going by people that have told me in that area, to be honest, David, and I can't see why they would lie about that.
No, and if anybody wants to contact me with any information about that, then I'll happily go and, as I will with anybody, I'll go and visit them and listen to them firsthand.
My last quick point to you was, what's the status at the moment on empty houses that the council have on their books? How many have you got?
Well, when I wrote my manifesto, there were 57 empty properties. There's also areas such as Marathon Drive, which have there's not many people at all living in, and that was always such a nice area, but the properties have gone past their best, and so we need, again, housing, as far as I'm concerned, is the top priority, and we need to make sure we don't have properties empty for as long as sometimes they are, and that obviously requires funding, and it requires us making sure that the houses are adequate for the people who are going to move into them.
Okay, all right.
So is it just quickly, Andy? Is it funding then that's stopping these 57 houses and the turnaround of getting these houses sorted out? Because obviously, we've said we've got a housing crisis, but we've got 57 houses that seem to be continuously lying empty. So is it down to funding? Is that purely it?
As I understand it, I haven't been to a housing meeting yet, and I'll get more of a grip of it when I'm actually in the meeting.
Okay, all right, June, we appreciate it. Thanks for calling us today. You mentioned, David, earlier on that building houses was good financially. Just explain how that works.
Well, if you invest in property, it's a long-term investment. You're going to get your rents in, and over a period of time, financially, that makes good sense. They make money, and that shouldn't be the top priority, but it's not like they're going to lose money like they lose money on some things. If you're building properties and you're getting people in and helping them with their quality of lives, it's a sound financial thing to do.
Okay. Does a local authority have to borrow money off central government to build? Is that how it works?
It has to have permission to borrow money.
Okay. Okay. Could you ask David Cretney what's his view on the nuisance site on North Quay? It's from Richard.
Well, I see that there are new plans coming about, and I really hope they come to fruition, is a bottom line. Obviously, the very end of the building next to the saddle is the part which is important. And I understand that the new plans don't affect that part, and hopefully they'll be able to get on and get something done on the site, because at the moment it's a bit of an eyesore.
Okay. Years ago, when Mr. Bell was tourism, I think, and then Chief Minister, he wanted a cafe society all around the Quays, North and South Quay. He wanted that to come to fruition. Well, North Quay's kind of okay with the Barbary Coast and what have you. South Quay's not really got there, has it?
No. There's a number of potential development sites on the South Quay, and I hope that they get on with some private developments over there. In terms of the North Quay, last Friday night, Rory McCann, a Blue Badge guide, took a number of us from the Rotary Club of Douglas along the North Quay and up to St George's and then back down. And I have to say, I've not seen North Quay looking as good, as busy, as vibrant as it did on a lovely sunny evening with people enjoying themselves. And whatever we can do to encourage that, because again, it's good for the businesses in that area.
Okay, is it true that Three Legs Light outside the sea terminal doesn't have planning permission?
Yeah, when I heard that on the Mannin Line, I raised that with officers. The response I have had is that lighting installations do not require planning permission. However, I've also had advice that on the original plans which were submitted by the Department of Infrastructure for the Promenade scheme, something was shown in that location. So I'm still waiting for further information after I heard that. But that the official line that I've had at the moment is that lighting installations do not require planning permission.
Charlie said, David, 706, Charlie, can you get the public path in Williston Crescent opened? We miss using it.
Right. Again, I don't know about the public path, but if Charlie would like to give me a shout, I'll happily come and have a look and do whatever I can.
Okay, you've been a servant through democracy for many, many years. How did you feel about the state of the Douglas election?
Well, I thought it was terrible. Island-wide, 21 local authorities, only 5 contested. The capital of the Isle of Man, the city of Douglas, only won in South Douglas. Now, people were really, really nice to me, but that's not what it's about. Democracy requires the participation of the people in that process. And for the not-to-be contested elections island-wide, I think, again, in 1993 or 1994, when the Council of Ministers rejected it, I moved that the Time for Change report should be adopted by Tynwald, which would have reduced the local authorities to 13. At the same time, they were looking at about an all-island rate, which, again, long overdue. So I'm very disappointed with how things went. Obviously, people have put themselves forward, but then there are other people all the time who have views about everything, but they've not decided to put their name forward. It would be good if they would do so.
It's interesting. I mean, I've always regarded democracy as it's a participation sport. It's not a spectator sport.
Absolutely.
You have to take part in it. You have to. If you're able to vote, you should vote. And if you want to do something, then get involved.
Yeah.
Some people are put off by it. Some people, bluntly, are a bit scared by it. Were you ever scared by an election, by a voter?
Not by a voter. And the voters have always been really nice to me. But your first election, and you're apprehensive as to how things are going to go. And at every election during the count, I would get very red-faced, walk up and down, and be very nervous. But there was no need. For 25 years, I had more votes than anybody else in any Douglas election. People were very, very kind to me, and even at this election, I went again with the slogan, the man you know and trust. Trust has never been more important in politics globally, not just the Isle of Man. And it's such a strange world we're living in at the moment that I worry sometimes for those who come after us. What would your advice be to an aspiring politician? First of all, I have had one person who was elected without an election in Onken got on to me and said, can we have a chat? Very happy to do that, but also like to encourage more people to get involved, put their names forward. We live in a lovely island, despite all its problems and challenges, we live in a lovely place. Let's all get involved to make it a better future for those who come after us.
Okay, David Cretney, thanks for being with us today. So will you come back on a regular basis?
You always ask that. Of course, I love all this kind of stuff, trying to talk to people directly. That's why I go round about people's houses any time. That's the one thing you get with me. If you want me, I'll be there. Okay, and just a quick word as well. And somebody's emailed in and just said, how's your diabetes? Under control. All right, thanks for being with us today. Pleasure. We've been with David Cretney in the past hour. As I mentioned, next Thursday, the leader of Douglas Council, Manx Labour Party's Devon Watson is on. If you want to get a message in the meantime, email Mannin Line at manxradio.com, or you can leave a message on the answer phone 682 631. That's it. Roads closed tonight at 6 o'clock at Belawn, and TT Practice Week starts on Monday. In the meantime, thanks to Chris on the phones today. The weather's looking, well, okay. Fingers crossed for the rain. Have a great weekend.
W